Okay, so what we're doing here today, we are going to learn about nuclear reactions. And with the last lesson, isotopia, or lesson 14, we learned about stable and radioactive isotopes. And since we know we have stable and radioactive isotopes, we also know that we have atoms, or we have elements that can change, okay? And well, how do they change? Well, they will break down, they will split apart, different atoms can come together, but these are going to be through nuclear reactions, okay? So nuclear chemistry is, the study of the nucleus of an atom, okay? And since we know that inside of the nucleus we have protons and we have neutrons, that proton piece in there identifies the element or identifies the atom. So if we know we have an atom that has 5 protons in it, we just have to look at our periodic table and say, okay, what element has 5 protons? And you would find boron, okay? You would find boron on your periodic table, okay? But if boron would go through some nuclear reaction, the number of protons will change, okay? Because we would no longer have an atom of boron, we would have something else, whether it be larger or smaller than boron, okay? You want to think of your periodic table as being like a board game, okay? I know the game of Monopoly is more of you follow a path that's in a square on the outside of the board. But here you want to think of all of those spaces on the periodic table, starting at hydrogen, which is number 1, excuse me, and helium number 2. You want to think of those as spaces on a game board, okay? And as long as you imagine that and you think about the reactions that we'll learn about, you'll be able to move backwards and forwards on your periodic table to help you understand what these elements are changing into, okay? So changes in the nucleus come in 3 main forms. One of those being radioactive decay, okay? In radioactive decay, we can break that down into 2 things. We can break that down into alpha decay as well as beta decay. When we hear those words decay, we know that we are going to change the form or change the atom that we are working with, okay? So we also have fission and fusion as main forms of changes to the nucleus, okay? Fission is a process where the nucleus breaks into smaller pieces. So we have one large nucleus and it breaks down into 2 nuclei. Fusion is where we have 2 nuclei and we bring those together, we fuse those together to create one larger nucleus, okay? Most of these processes that I've just talked about involve changes in the atomic number. And again, when we change the atomic number or the number of protons, and we're changing the identity of the element that we have, okay? So some learning goals of this, we're going to be able to explain the different processes that are involved in nuclear changes and the conditions required for those processes to occur. You'll also be able to explain the connection between nuclear changes and changes in the atomic identity, okay? With this lesson, you will be playing a board game. So your activity isn't really doing a physical lab experiment or doing a virtual lab. You are playing a board game and moving a game piece around a board. That is going to mimic the changes in a nucleus, okay? So let's go over some vocabulary terms first. I have some different pictures on here for you to see, okay? So we have nuclear reactions, and that's a process that involves changes to the nucleus of an atom. Fission, the splitting apart of an atomic nucleus into 2 smaller nuclei accompanied by the release of energy, okay? And you see a picture here representing fission, okay? So we have one nucleus, right? One nucleus, and it's splitting apart into 2 different nuclei, okay? Here you're also going to see with fission, neutrons are going to be released, okay? Fission is where we will eventually see something called a nuclear chain reaction. Okay, we'll eventually see something called a nuclear chain reaction. Okay, and that's in the next lesson. Fusion is where we have two different nuclei and we bring them together to form one. Okay, we bring them together to form one. Radioactive decay, how do we define that? It's a spontaneous process by which an atom emits radiation or a particle from its nucleus to become more stable. Okay. Okay, so let's look at some more vocabulary terms. We have alpha particle. So this is a particle composed of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. We like to say that this is something that we can say is a helium particle. You will see this symbol here. This is the Greek symbol for alpha. Some people refer to it as a fish, whatever you choose to call it, okay? Since it's a helium particle, we have to think, okay, we know the mass of helium is going to be 4, okay? That means I have 2 protons and 2 neutrons, because remember, the mass comes from the addition of the protons and the neutrons, okay? You can see right down here how we represent an alpha particle when we have a reaction in front of us. We can do one of 2 things. We can list the alpha symbol, or we can show a helium particle, okay? So alpha decay is a nuclear reaction where an atom emits an alpha particle, okay? The atomic number decreases by 2. That's really important to understand. So let's take a look here at the bottom. We are starting out with an atom of radium, okay? This is radium down here, okay? This is actually radium-226. Why is it radium-226? Look at the mass number, okay? The atomic number for radium is 88, okay? We are saying that radium-226 is going to go through alpha decay. How do I know that? On the right-hand side, we have an alpha particle or helium particle, okay? And to make this make a little more sense, and we'll further our study of parent isotopes and daughter isotopes in the next lesson, but what we start with, this is called the parent, and what we end with, those are our daughter or daughter isotopes, daughters or daughter isotopes, okay? So we go through alpha decay. Well, this says the atomic number decreases by 2 and the mass number decreases by 4. We'll take a look. Here is my daughter, okay? I have radon. Did my mass number decrease by 4? 226 to 222, sure it did. Did my atomic number decrease by 2? Sure, 88 to 86, okay? That's something that's helping me prove that I did go through alpha decay, okay? Another type of decay here, which we also call radioactive decay, is beta decay. So here we have beta particles. We can represent a beta particle by using the Greek symbol beta, which is a bee with a fancy little tail on it. Or we can list one of these guys here, okay? Sometimes you can also see, like you see in the example, the beta particle with showing that we are moving an electron out of there, okay? So in beta decay, this is the nuclear reaction where a neutron changes into a proton, okay? So think about this. If the neutron changes into a proton, is there a change in the mass? No change in the mass, right? Why is that? Neutrons and protons add together to become the atomic mass, okay? So that's like saying, okay, I have something and it has a mass of 10, okay? And let's say I have 6 protons and 4 neutrons, okay? If it goes through beta decay, excuse me, a neutron changes into a proton. So this number is going to go down. My number of protons is going to go up, okay? 7 plus 3, is that still 10? Yes, okay? And so that proton emits a beta particle, okay? So since we're losing an electron, we're becoming more positive, okay? The atomic number increases by 1. So we're going to move forward 1 block on the periodic table. If you find iodine on your periodic table, it has an atomic number of 53, okay? We want it to go through beta decay. Put your finger on iodine, okay? It's in group 17 or 7A. If you increase your atomic number by 1, you just jump to the right to xenon, which has an atomic number of 54, okay? Our atomic number goes up by 1. Take a look here. The mass doesn't change. We still have a mass of 131, okay? All right, last piece of vocabulary here is a gamma ray. This is a form of high energy electromagnetic radiation that is emitted during nuclear reactions. Okay, that's emitted during nuclear reactions. You will see a gamma ray represented by the Greek symbol gamma. Sometimes you will see people write the word energy in a reaction, okay? That would also represent gamma, okay? So some things we're going to look at, there are 10 cards that you see below here, and these 10 cards are different cards or examples of different cards that you will see in the board game that you're playing, okay? So let's take a look here. We have alpha decay cards, beta decay cards, lead shield cards, fission, and fusion, okay? So I'm going to number these. I'm going to do alpha, beta, fission, and then I'm going to do fusion, okay? And then we'll talk about these other cards, okay? Take a look. We have an alpha decay card, okay? And if you are playing the game and you draw an alpha decay card, you read the description. It says your isotope is unstable. You lose a helium atom from your nucleus. It tells you to move back 2 spaces. Well, does that go along with what you just learned about alpha decay and alpha particles? In alpha decay, your atomic number goes down by 2. So if you put your finger on an element on the periodic table and you need the atomic number to go down or decrease by 2, you're going to move backwards. Notice it says pick up a gamma radiation card, okay? Alpha decay will always produce gamma radiation, okay? Beta decay, if you pick up a beta decay card, it says your isotope converts a neutron a neutron into a proton, okay? It says move ahead 1 space. Think about beta decay. Our atomic number increases because we are changing a neutron into a proton and we are releasing an electron, okay? This says pick up a gamma radiation card. Okay, well, beta decay also produces gamma radiation. Okay, let's look at this third type of card. This is a fission card. Okay, you undergo a nuclear chain reaction at a nuclear power plant. Move to either, and it says krypton or barium, whichever is closer. So when we have fission, we're splitting apart. And so we're also picking up a gamma radiation card. So these 3 types of reactions here, alpha decay, beta decay, and fission, all produce gamma radiation, okay? Well, what is a gamma radiation card? Take a look down here, okay, on the right-hand side. You see the gamma symbol here, and it says if you collect 30 Rankins of radiation, you'll lose a turn. Gamma radiation is a really strong form of energy. You will see different values for the radiation listed on this card as well. Okay, so let's talk about fusion. You will notice that you have 3 different types of fusion or places where fusion can occur. Okay, well, take a look. This very first one that is red, it says you're in a red giant star, and it lists the temperature on there. Okay, it says you fuse with this version of carbon, and then it says move ahead 6 spaces. Well, why do you move ahead 6 spaces? You are joining together with carbon. What's the atomic number of carbon? It's 6, right? So we're gaining 6 protons. You move ahead the number of protons that you're gaining, okay? This form of fusion is occurring in the sun. Again, a temperature is listed here. Here it says we are going to fuse with helium. So this is why we have to pay attention to helium being a parent isotope or a daughter isotope, okay? When we have a fusion reaction, okay, and I want to point this out to you. When we have a fusion reaction, you have X plus Y equals Z, okay? So you have two parents and one daughter, okay? Does that make sense? We have another fusion reaction, and this is a supernova. The temperature is insanely high here, okay? And this tells you to move ahead 14 spaces. So we see instances where we move ahead 6 spaces, 2 spaces, 14 spaces, and take a look. Where can we say that fusion is going to occur in outer space, right? There are some other cards that you will see. You have a lead shield card. You also have a chemistry award card and a radiation sickness card. Okay. A radiation sickness card is kind of like sending someone to jail in Monopoly. Here, you're sending someone to the hospital. Okay. A lead shield card is one where we can prevent radiation from being released. And it says, hey, your isotope is stable. That means any radiation, any of that gamma radiation you have picked up before, you can get rid of it up to 25 Rankins. Okay. And so we're going to block that radiation, which means since it's stable, our nucleus or our game piece is not going to move backwards or forwards. Okay. If you have a chemistry award card, you can save this card and it'll allow you to move over the lanthanides or the actinides as you go through the game. Something to understand. You move to the lanthanides when you get to atomic number 58 or 57, I believe. I can't remember what the game board actually itself says. But you have to follow the numeric order. Sometimes people will think that you're ending the game on atomic number 103. You have to numerically follow those atomic numbers that are listed on the game board. Okay? All right, so let's talk about nuclear chemistry. Nuclear chemistry is the study of the changes to the nucleus. Again, we've talked about these in terms of their vocabulary definitions. Radioactive decay, we can have alpha, beta. We also can see fission, okay? This is where in alpha, the number of protons decreases by 2. The number of neutrons decreases by 2. That's why we see that mass number decrease by 4. Okay, this is something that's accompanied by gamma radiation. Okay, beta also accompanied by gamma radiation. Our number of protons increases by 1, which means our atomic number is going to increase by 1. Okay. In the next lesson, we'll learn more about radioactive decay. The other form of radioactive decay is fission, okay? This is another one where we have gamma radiation, being released here. We're splitting something apart. So since we're breaking something apart, we are going to release that energy, okay? The last one is fusion. Fusion is where you bring 2 smaller nuclei together to form one larger nucleus. Think about this. Radiation is pretty harmful to living things because it damages tissue. Okay? Why is it harmful? It damages tissue. Gamma radiation requires a lead shield to protect things from experiencing that gamma radiation. Okay, so what you see here in this picture, in the picture there, you see blocks of lead that are pretty thick being used to block the radiation that's coming off of whatever that radioactive material is in there. This is actually a picture from a nuclear medicine lab. So if you've ever had a nuclear medicine scan, nuclear medicine test at a hospital, they keep the radioactive tracers behind lead shields. They also have them kept inside of these containers called lead pigs. And it's basically like a pencil case that contains a vial of that radioactive tracer. Okay. So changes in the nucleus of an atom can change the identity of an element, okay? And so we've already talked about this. So alpha decay results in a decrease of the atomic number by 2. So we're moving backwards 2 spaces on the periodic table. Beta decay results in an increase in the atomic number by 1. So if something goes through beta decay, you move forward 1 space, okay? Nuclear fission involves one nucleus splitting apart to form 2 nuclei, okay? With each of those have smaller atomic numbers. Nuclear fusion is where we take 2 nuclei, we bring them together, and we form a nucleus with a larger atomic number. Nuclear fusion takes place in extremely hot environments. Think back to those cards that we just looked at. So think about this. A lot of those occur in the cores or the centers of stars, okay? Larger elements are formed in the hottest stars. Well, think about this. The hottest star, you saw that supernova, we moved ahead the most amount of spaces. It was 14 spaces. So that goes directly with, what we just gathered here. Okay. Nuclear changes frequently involve the transfer of large amounts of energy. Okay. This is why nuclear reactions can provide energy to operate power plants. Okay. And these are nuclear power plants. So you see that in the bottom left, in kind of the middle of the page. This is a scan from a nuclear stress test. What you see there is actually someone's heart. So radioactive tracers are injected into patients, and their muscles take up the amounts of that tracer, whatever it may be, in certain amounts. So different muscles, bones, things like that, they react to different tracers. Bones, for example, the calcium crystals in their bones will take up different tracers than what their heart would, okay? And that allows us to see, how much of the heart is maybe not working or it's not bringing in oxygen, okay? Bottom right-hand corner here, we can see that we have nuclear reactions or nuclear radiation as something that's important for things in outer space, okay? So that's all we have. We will play that game when we come to